Hi, I'm Jay with User Friendly Paintball, and today we're reviewing the Dye i5 paintball goggle system. The score up front. Was this mask a hit or a miss? I'd say this one is a hit, but for the price, it definitely didn't gog anybody. And that's my take on it. Why did I rate the Dye i5 this way? Stay with me and I'll explain. Now, I realize the stated purpose of user-friendly paintball is to review paintball gear that is mainly geared toward new players, people who are just coming into the sport, who are looking to get the best deal for their money. And the Dye i5 is, without question, one of the higher-end paintball masks that you can get on the market at this time. The reason I'm reviewing the Dye i5 is that I know when I started paintball 20 years ago, I was on a budget. I bought what I thought was going to be the best possible gear at the least cost. That's pretty much how I played. But I also know that there's some consumers out there who they're considering joining the sport and they have some discretionary funds on their hands. They want to get better gear right off the bat. I can tell you as a bit of a gear dog, I've been looking over buy, sell, trade sites and eBay and whatnot and I know sometimes you see a listing where someone bought good quality gear, they played a few times and they decided the sport just wasn't for them. So I'm here talking about the Dye i5 today, mainly for those players who want to know if it's worth that step up to the higher end mask, and also players who have that fundage to spend on the sport but are just trying to figure out, is this mask going to be worth it? Now, to clarify, I am not sponsored by any team, company, or organization. Of course, this being YouTube, if you want to smash the like, follow, and subscribe buttons, I'd be much appreciative. And if you want to support the channel in other ways, there are information down in the comments below. But whether I make a dime on this video is secondary to me in importance. I prefer that you get the best possible perspective on the gear that I'm reviewing so that you can make an informed choice. And everything I've learned I've done through study and experience. When I go to buy new gear, I like to know a bit about what it is that I'm getting and get a broad perspective on it so that my potential purchases turn out for the best. And I want to share what I've learned with you. Okay, onto the goggle itself. A bit of background on this mask you can probably get from a web search. The Dye i5 hasn't been on the market a really long time. My information says 2016. It was preceded by the Dye i4, which was very similar to the Dye i5 in most respects. The lens system itself is identical. So if you have a Dye i4 with a good lens on it and you decide to buy an i5, you can swap those lenses out interchangeably. Now, when I opened this Dye i5 for the first time, I saw that Dye recommends in the instruction manual that you change your lens every year. At the time of this video, the simple thermal lens is running about $50 at minimum. So that is something that you want to keep in mind. Personally, I don't change my lenses out quite that often, but I would not specifically tell you to ignore Dye's advice on this because this is a high quality lens. It's called a toroidal horizon 290-degree anti-fog thermal lens. And they're very high quality. The manufacturing on them is excellent. But when you get high quality lenses exposed to UV and wear and tear, honestly, if Dye says you should replace it every year, then you might take heed to what they say and keep that in mind as far as your budget goes. That's also a good thing to keep in mind when you're deciding if this is the right mask for you, the maintenance on it. On any goggle you get, the lens is arguably the most important aspect. If it becomes damaged or dangerous and you can't use it on the field safely, then your game is stopped in its tracks. Paintball thrives on its safety record, so be safe. Now, this particular Dye i5 is the 2.0 smoked version with a simple clear thermal lens. It comes with a nice chin strap, which I have uninstalled at this point. It can be reinstalled with these snaps. It's got a little bit of cushion on here, easy to remove. Just got your alligator clips. Now, the Dye i5 also comes with no visor out of the box. Most time players don't use them. I admit I tend to play with a visor myself, but I also play almost exclusively on a woods ball outdoor field. So a visor would actually probably have saved some of these marks on the mask as I was creeping through brush, tree branches smacking me in the face. The visor may have deflected some of that, a little bit maybe. But, you know, if I played indoors, I'd probably skip the visor too. No need for an indoor typically, and maybe not outdoor, depending on the field that you're playing on. The visor is really the user's choice, but in the case of the Di-5, no option for one included unless you buy it aftermarket, and then it's even tougher to come by as well. Some of the selling points that brought me personally to upgrade to a Di-5 are the lens, of course, the increased size of the mask over its nearest relative, the I4, and the built-in action camera mount that comes straight from the manufacturer. The lens peripheral vision is outstanding, and most people who review these goggles say that the Di-5 is unfoggable. I'm an exception to that. I'll explain that in a bit. The mask has a good tight fit to the average head, I'd say. There is a graphic on the screen showing some basic dimensions of my head, so you can kind of judge for yourself. Most guys will say, oh, I have a bigger head, oh, I have a smaller head. With me, I understand that, but just the same, everybody's head is different. So bigger versus smaller, it can be tough to judge. The best results are to go down to your local pro shop, try one on and see how it fits. Nothing beats that. If you're like me and you don't have a local pro shop nearby, or if you're just trying to judge a goggle from something that you're possibly going to buy on the internet, then it kind of helps to determine how it fits to your face, and I hope that information is helpful. That action camera mount is shown here. I've used action cameras for years on my masks. It's nice to be able to record your games and to go back and see the fun you had, and also to review what you did and see instances where you might improve your game in the future. And a cam mount really helps with that. The Di-5 mount is near perfect in my opinion. It can mount on either side of the mask, and I have it on the right side here, and it's directly in line with your sight, with your eye line. That's good because for years I've mounted my action camera on a visor on my go-to paintball mask, top center. And that's great until you're lining up your shots the way you really should, right down the barrel. If your eyes are either side of the gun receiver, and then your hopper's usually right here. I mean, your hopper would be right here, and that's right in the way of the camera's line of sight. So with the mount on the side, you avoid that. On the downside, that side mount means that if you're leaning like you should, you lean for a shot, you know, you're peeking out, you're looking.
He's out! Let him out!
And if you've got a bunker right here, in the instance of being on the right side, the bunker's right here and you're leaning, you know, you may not see that shot you're looking at. I mean, you may see it with your eyes, but your camera will not catch that lane that you're making. And that's something to keep in mind. Also, there are a lot of aftermarket GoPro style mounts that will probably fit the i5 just right here on the top grill. But then again, that's money that you're spending for an accessory that the real point of buying the i5 is to get the best bang out of the box for your money. And you know, it seems to me any added accessories is just more money that you're putting on top of the purchase already. And you know, dang it, you are spending money on this thing, so make sure that it's the best deal for you. Now let's real quickly talk about cost, since that got brought up. The Di-5 comes in a wide array of colors and accents with lots of quality lenses and different hues. You've got opaque ones, you've got transparent ones, so you can find something that's going to suit your style. Some of the simpler types are less expensive. They run near about $180 at the time of this video being made. The fanciest Di-5s can run upwards of $230 or more, depending upon your point of sale. If you're getting it used, make sure that it's safe. At the time of this video, there are some cheap knockoff that look like i5s, but they are decidedly not safe. So make sure that you get a legitimate Di-5 mask. Anyway, for most of my paintball career, that price was out of my range for a paintball mask. I say you can get what you need for less money. This is what I said at the beginning when I was talking about whether you should look at a Di-5. I say you ought to know what you're getting before you pay for it. So if your money can go the farthest, you know. If you're new or even semi-new to the sport and you want a mask that will perform well and last a long time and is backed up by one of the mainstays of the industry, the i5 is not a bad way to go. And let's face it, buying a top-of-the-line paintball mask is not the same as buying a top-of-the-line paintball gun. $200 some for excellent vision and face protection is probably a better investment, in this man's opinion, from $1,500 to $2,000 more for a paintball gun that does everything but sing you a lullaby to sleep at night. I'm one of those old school guys who says a paintball mask is more important of an investment than even a paintball gun. Finding what works best for you on a piece of safety equipment is a real high priority in my book. Okay, other good points of the i5, the Gsr Pro Strap. It's the only mask like it on the market with this ratcheting strap. It's got a big pad that fits your head really well, and it's so easy to adjust. If it's not fitting right, you can just twist the ratchet. It's clockwise to tighten and counterclockwise to loosen. You twist that ratchet and you can get a better seal on the foam because it's tighter to your head. The foam, mentioning, is super comfortable, and it is, as industry standard these days, fully quick replaceable. You just pop it out. There's some tabs in here that attach along the grill and down along the bottom here. That's good because if the foam wears out from use, you don't have to glue in replacement foam. I've been there, done that, don't recommend it. But yeah, the foam is some of the most comfortable I've tried on a paintball mask. And that's important because when you're running around playing, you want a good comfortable seal between the foam around your eyes and the skin of your face. That keeps the fog level down in the mask, and the thermal component of the lens does the rest. It keeps the moisture from building up, and that's how it's supposed to work. Oh, the breathability on the i5. It's good. Some folks say that the JT ProFlex series or the Empire eFlex are better, and personally I agree, but those masks also have their ups and downs too. But for overall moving air in and out, also for the sound of the mask when you're talking, breathing hard, or yelling to a team, yep, the i5 is good. I'd say in my experience the i5 had some of the best acoustics of any paintball mask I've ever worn on the field of play. For me, every mask I've tried has a different sound to it, and that is normal because, you know, each mask has a different fit and design, and so yeah, your air is going to move in differently and through the venting and the space inside. But for me, I had little issue with the i5 in this aspect. It's not my personal favorite for breathing, but it was still really decent. The foam ears are nice too. The i5 comes with compression-formed padded ears, which was another selling point for me. I've used lower-end masks for years that just have the side of the mask in hardish plastic, and then you've got the strap that goes through there. And that can be fine, but every little bit of cushion on that side of your head is really nice. It's also a great benefit when you get shot in the side of the face here or in the ear. If you take a round to an unpadded mask, it may give you a stinger that you're going to feel for a few days. You're going to be hating that. Now, I like the protective coverage on the i5. It's enough for your needs. It isn't really high extra protection like some of the other masks on the market that you can get, especially some of the older style masks. Not comparing the i4, mind you, which actually had a little less coverage than the i5. There seems to be a trend in mask design lately where the idea is that masks should fit as close to your face as possible. They should be coming along your profile line and really just an extension of your face. I can see the advantages of that, but in my personal experience, I kind of prefer a little more coverage. So that's my personal bias showing there. Your forehead is exposed with the i5. A lot of that due to the fact that you don't have a visor up there. I know some guys don't care. So you either want to be ready to take one to the dome or use some kind of padding on your forehead, like a beanie or a headband or something. I do, as you can see. The side coverage is great for the face. The chin and throat area there, okay. It's a good tight fit to your face for a mask for players who feel like they're just wearing an extension of their face. But there isn't a ton of extra coverage to keep you from taking a stinger to the throat or even the jawline if you happen to be shouting and get shot there. But hey, there are worse masks in this regard. A couple last details. Yes, it is a lightweight mask, which for running around playing paintball, it's definitely a plus. Dye's manufacturing is first rate, no question there. Quick note on the lens change system. The i4 had one of the easiest lens change systems on the market. The i5 is similar, but not as easy to do as its predecessor. You got to move these tabs here. You got to push them in to unlock it, And the instruction manual says not to use anything sharp or hard to do it, but when I got this thing out of the box, these tabs were so tight that I just grabbed a flat-bladed screwdriver I had handy, and I was pushing on it, and the whole time I'm saying to myself, don't slip, because I could just see myself slipping and gouging that mask. And oh, I would have been super ticked off. Not fun. So the point is, it's not the best in and out for a lens that I've seen. The removal and install process, not the best. And making sure it's closed up again after you followed the steps to reinstall is also a bit spotty. Maybe if it's well broken in, it's cake, but it's not my favorite. But on the bright side, there are no extra boost parts that come out. You might lose that. That's more common on some of the lower end masks. So that's a plus, I guess. Okay, so I've covered what I'd say are the best points of the Di-5. Now let me break down real quick the reasons why I will not be using this particular mask myself. One, if you wear glasses, the space in the lens area is perhaps not ideal. That kind of depends on your glasses. Mine are bigger than I'd like for actual playing, but glasses are more of a necessary thing than paintball goggles for those of us who have to wear them. Yeah, get contacts. I hear that a lot. It is what it is. So if you wear glasses and your glasses aren't a great fit for this mask, forget about it. It gets awkward feeling. Then comes the fogging issue I mentioned. Wearing glasses, the Di-5 did not live up to its no fog reputation for me. Part of that is also due to the fact that the strap pad, which was part of what I liked about the mask before I bought it, it doesn't perform well with my choice of head cover. Now, if you want an i5 and you aren't wedded to your particular head cover, you could probably just ditch the head cover and you'd have a kick-butt mask. For me, the headband is something I don't go out without. And for me, I've got to have a headband to protect my head from the elements. The headband I had, it just didn't work with this pad. It was either the knot pushing against the pad or the pad was rubbing the knot out of the way, things were sliding around, and it just wasn't effective for me. I know most guys would say, well, you could go with a different headband, but it was just a combination of things between the fogging, the lack of coverage. I prefer, that's a bias on my part, I prefer a little more coverage against my head cover. You know, for me, the Di-5 just got less comfy the longer I used it. There was a lot of personal bias that ended up making me decide not to use this mask. And it was more me than the mask itself in most aspects. So this just ended up being a no. Okay, here's a quick roundup of the goods, followed by the bads, from my point of view. Now you know. Thanks everybody for watching this video. Again, like, follow, subscribe, do good to others, walk the dog, eat your greens, and hey, go play paintball. Okay, sound check, check. Now, I realize the stated purpose of user-friendly paintball is to review paintball gear primarily toward... Now I realize the stated... It comes with a nice chin strap. Little pages. It isn't really... It is install process and reinstall process.